This week we're tearing into 2021 at full pelt. But what technology wonders may it hold? We'll ask the experts. And no, you're not having a bad dream, but an artificial intelligence is. Hey, welcome to Click. Happy New Year. I hope you got some respite and a bit of a break recently. Lara Lewington, hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks, all things considered. Any New Year's resolutions your end?
Absolutely not. Don't do resolutions, that means I can't break them. I tell you what, I've decided to stay at home more and watch more TV. What's your plans for the next few weeks?
I think I'll have a quiet start to the year and then, well, I guess we can only hope. But in the meantime, if you're having that January wanting to get fit feeling, then of course it is going to be a bit harder than usual this year. But you could take advantage of some of the tech platforms that did really well last year. They certainly benefited from the at-home exercise boom.
One of those companies is Zwift, a virtual cycling platform whose subscribers are now in the millions. And this is no poodle in the park either. In-app racers have taken the competition to extreme levels. And Jonathan Coates threw himself into this to find out more.
For many, cycling during lockdown offers escapism, and more people than ever are hitting the roads. But for a growing number, the roads they ride on aren't tarmacked. Cycling is a sport which has always embraced technology, and now it's taken the ultimate leap into the virtual world. Zwift is an online platform that allows amateur and professional cyclists to train and compete against one another. Its popularity has soared during the pandemic, and now it has more than 3 million subscribers. By putting a normal, everyday bike on a smart trainer, basically a treadmill for a bike with a Bluetooth connection, a rider's real-life physical output is converted into a moving avatar. In Zwift, the resistance levels automatically change depending on gradients and conditions, and there's a whole host of other tech that can help add to the realism. The more advanced trainers simulate going over cobbles or through dirt tracks, and there are even fans that can match the wind speed to how fast you're cycling. But once you're plugged in, all you need to do is start pedaling. You can join a group ride, do a workout, or simply cruise around some of the best routes in the world with maps, stats, and data. So to see what all the fuss was about, I thought I'd get stuck in. The plan? To get fit enough so that in 5 weeks I could take part in a race on Zwift. And in order to do that, I recruited Matt Rowe, a professional cycling coach who trains people through Zwift.
It is the future for sure for training, and that's for amateur cyclists who have got kind of 4 or 5 hours a week, right through to the professional ranks. I mean, indoor training, the benefits that it brings to performance gains speaks volumes.
Now there's one key metric that seems to be the lifeblood of Zwift, and that's watts. Put it like this, your TV needs about 250 watts to work, and Olympic gold medalist Bradley Wiggins broke the hour cycling record by generating an hour average of 440 watts just with his legs. Zwift bills itself as a training platform, and unlike many sports, this setup can actually replicate many aspects of cycling with genuine road speeds and conditions, meaning that all the data you gather is comparable to what you get in real life.
So Matt has set me a test tonight to see how fit I am.
Basically, it's to see how hard I can push myself and how many watts I could generate.
So I've got my screen down here where I can see the training plan that I've got to do and what he's going to put me on. It's 45 minutes and it looks pretty brutal. At the moment I'm doing 167 watts or thereabouts. It's top of my legs are really starting to hurt now. That was one of the hardest things I have done for a long time. I mean, look at me, it's just horrendous.
Certainly, I had some work to do. And the training carried on 5 days a week for 5 weeks. But while you can train hard and make real gains, it feels like competition is the pinnacle of Zwifting. It's where Zwift goes to the next level, both for the users and for the company itself. Suddenly, the platform switches from being training focused to something more akin to an esports platform. You can select a race, turn up at the right time, and you're suddenly on the starting line with a huge group of other riders. And if you're good, there's serious money to be made from winning.
I've heard from several Zwifters who say, oh, I made more money on this one Zwift race than I've ever made in any outdoor race that I've ever done. There's been some big cash prizes.
At December's UCI Cycling Esports World Championships, the prize money was almost $10,000 for the winners. Incredibly, female cyclists can make more money from winning races in Zwift than in real life. So after 5 weeks of training, for 5 days a week, the time had come. It was race day. At 12:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, the race began. And I had Matt there on Zoom to coach me through.
That's the most painful thing I've ever done. It was genuinely really fun. There's a real kind of thrill of racing, or it must be unique to Zwift. If parents are worried about kids doing too much gaming at home, then get them on this because they'll get fit. And honestly, you can't do it for more than 45 minutes or you'll fall over.
But it was time to hear the results. 5 weeks ago, I had a functional threshold power of 233 watts. So, had the training worked?
Today, for 38 minutes, you've done 288 watts.
Wow.
So you've gained it for an extra 30 odd watts, 34 watts. You've sustained it for nearly twice the amount of time.
Gosh.
It's a huge spike.
That's a massive increase, isn't it?
That's a massive increase. Out of 42 riders, you were 14th.
Hey!
Good result. You've got to be happy with that. There's what we call a couple of sandbaggers in the group. There's 2 riders that were kind of minutes ahead of 3rd place in the C's.
There were 2 guys in the race in my category, Category C, who were considerably faster than everyone else. In fact, they came first and second with a minute between the 3rd place. And it's these guys who essentially are Category A riders. They're really fast, really light, really powerful, competing in lower categories. You know, I came 14th, but it sounds like I could have actually come 12th. And I feel a little bit I feel a little bit cheated.
Perhaps where there's competition, there's always going to be cheating. And professional cycling has had its fair share of scandals. And now Zwift is having to deal with digital performance enhancement and other methods of manipulation. But as I began to find out more about cheating on Zwift, one name kept coming up.
Well, I can say this guy's name, Cam Jeffers, because it was all over the news anyway.
I don't like to be compared to Lance Armstrong. And I don't think it's fair to compare me to Lance Armstrong.
In 2019, cyclist and YouTuber Cameron Jeffers took part in and won the inaugural British e-racing championships in London on Zwift. But shortly after the race, he was given a 6-month suspension from all racing after British Cycling ruled he had breached its disciplinary code during championships.
I got a call one day from British Cycling saying that they've had an anonymous complaint that my bike wasn't legit. And I was like, you what? Come and check my bike if you want. I don't know what you're on about.
Zwift said the charge related to Jeffers using a bot to ride for him to unlock a special bike in game, thus giving him an unfair advantage over his competitors. Jeffers claims that he obtained the bike for a series of YouTube videos he was making earlier in the year rather than for the race.
The qualifiers, I remember saying to a couple of people, like, do you not think, should I not be using a bike that I've legitimately unlocked? And they said that there's been, there's no rule book, there's no rules been written for this event, so there's no way you can get disqualified for using a bike that you haven't legitimately obtained.
But just like in any sport, there's a battle between those regulating and those trying to gain an advantage.
Cheers.
Let me say this. It was fair that they took it away from him, but I think he could have won without the Tron bike. So that's the sad thing.
Zwift are cracking down on any attempts to cheat in their races with the support of global cycling governing bodies. If the platform wants to be taken seriously, it has to maintain its sporting integrity.
I think cheating is probably something we'll have to combat. It will never go away. Someone will figure out how to game the system. But having said that, there are things that we know we can do, including hardware. So for example, the World Championships this year, everyone will be on the same bit of equipment.
In addition to real-world anti-doping controls that bar the use of performance-enhancing drugs, there will also be a group of analysts monitoring riders' race data for any red flags when compared to their previous performance stats. After just 5 weeks of using the platform, I got so much fitter, but really I was hooked, and it was the social element and the gamification that kept me coming back.
People were showing up not for training, they were showing up because they crave that social connection. If I think about what Zwift could be, it's certainly much larger than bike racing as a community.
If it's a gamified training tool or an esports platform, Zwift has hit upon something which has resonated with cyclists. And key to this is the fervent community that is building with YouTubers, live streamers, online trainers, and social groups.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It was the week that a request to extradite WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange from the UK to face espionage charges in America was denied by a court in London. Employees from Google and its parent company Alphabet started a new labour union called the Alphabet Workers Union. And Volkswagen showed off its prototype fully autonomous electric car charging robot, which it says will work in places like underground car parks. There were also reports this week that billionaire founder of Chinese tech giant Alibaba, Jack Ma, had gone missing after he hasn't been seen in public since October. Mr. Ma had been critical of Chinese financial regulators as not being innovative enough for technology development. Mr. Ma had been preparing to list his Ant Group in what was going to be the world's largest initial public offering, but regulators shelved the listing after his criticism. Data from Singapore's COVID contact tracing app Trace Together can be accessed by the police despite previous reassurances of privacy. Originally, officials said data collected by the app would only be used for virus tracking. Researchers from the GRASP lab at the University of Pennsylvania have demonstrated a robot with a body made from ice. They say the concept IceBot could be used in remote locations like Antarctica or even Mars.
The robot was able to climb icy inclines of up to 2.5 degrees and clear lightweight obstacles from its path in testing.
"2021. What on earth does it have in store for us? Hopefully some better things than 2020. We've asked some leading tech experts to give us their predictions of things that might be just around the corner.
Boston Dynamics kicked off 2021 in style, with a robot routine fit for dirty dancing. But twisting isn't all droids are getting up to this year.
I think we're going to see in 2021 is the increased prevalence of robots coexisting in spaces with people.
Most robot helpers working today zip around controlled areas in factories or warehouses where bystanders can't get in their way. But many more robots are coming to public spaces like shops and hospitals.
You may have people who are completely unaware that there might be a robot driving down a corridor.
Firms like Starship Technologies have even run on-street pilots before, but 2021 brings unprecedented momentum.
The market wasn't necessarily crying for more kinds of delivery, but now, because of COVID and in agriculture because of Brexit, we're seeing the market looking for solutions.
But berry-picking prototypes like this won't be the first to scale.
Running from the field to the pack house and back and collecting new trays, loading punnets on trays, kind of task where you could have a robot doing that.
So what needs to happen first?
You have very large test groups and you build up an assurance that the likelihood of something going wrong is minuscule.
An area with other growing risks is cybersecurity. On your smartphone, app developers can build in tools taking advantage of the device's operating system to make the app safer. But that's not the case across the board.
There are other systems that we rely on, whether that's automotive or medical or your smart city functions, that end up building every component themselves. We all can't be experts at everything. So this is the year that they recognize that it's hard to do everything yourself.
A shift is needed, but to what?
What makes more sense is leveraging security functionality from platforms so that we're not all reinventing the wheel in every different development team, that there should be some places it's appropriate to find third-party libraries, find support from a framework, from a platform.
If you're wondering what's the worst that can happen if someone hacks your smart speaker, well, it's not just about turning the volume up.
Even if those devices are not managing anything sensitive, right, or that you might not consider sensitive, there's still a launching point to attack your laptop or your iPad.
But although some data is best kept private, in some cases it's better shared, even all around the world.
2021 will be the year when, for the first time, a truly global collaborative artificial intelligence community will start working together.
Some global data initiatives do exist, but are generally limited to specialisms like cancer research in health or fraud analysis in finance.
The word is actually to combine all this data together into a single corpus of information.
It's a technical feat, sure, but there's a bigger impact here.
If you want to know how to improve the healthcare systems, where do you start investing? And this investment will improve healthcare. What about schools? What about traffic? What about housing? All these items are correlated, and artificial intelligence will help us understand that ecosystem as a whole much better.
Fascinating. Let's see what comes to pass, shall we? Okay, let's talk about something completely different now. Lara, you know when you look at the clouds, sometimes you can see things in them, yeah?
Oh, yes.
Right, so look at this photo, right? I took this over Christmas. I think there are two angels having a chat in this one.
Oh, I'm always seeing things that aren't there. A bit like when you're in a dark room and there's a bit of a shadow and you convince yourself that it's a person and completely terrify yourself.
Right, okay, exactly. So this is your brain making connections and your mind spotting patterns that aren't really there. It turns out that artificial intelligence can also have an overactive imagination. So you know how image recognition software works, yeah?
Yes, you feed it, say, pictures of dogs, so it can identify dogs for itself, and then it'll be able to see dogs in pictures.
Right, but if you ask it to look too hard, it will start seeing dogs everywhere. Now, there's this Google researcher whose name is Alex Mordvintsev, and he decided to turn this concept into art. He is the man who created Google DeepDream.
Yeah, it actually happened in the middle of the night, and I really woke up having some weird dream of someone entering the apartment, and somehow I'm already woke up and it's 2 a.m. and I had this idea that I wanted to try, so maybe now is, well, why don't I spend half an hour coding? And yeah, there was this cat and dog picture that I was using as a starting point for the optimization. Images that I've got were so surprising to me that I shared them into internal message boards. I think the exact text was like, okay, it's 2 a.m., but how do I sleep now after seeing this?
But the sun never sets on the Google empire. And while Alex was sleeping, it was afternoon in Mountain View, California, and the image was going viral at headquarters. The unknown engineer from the Zurich lab was famous.
I posted the actual code into our internal repository, and in the next week there were hundreds of people playing with this, and some images started leaking externally, and I've seen the reaction of people outside what the hell is going on, wasn't this? And a lot of people were saying that this is similar to like hallucinogenic experiences.
We do see weird things. We see weird things on the LSD. And some of the images from DeepDream seem like hallucinogenic images. And that could point to a connection between machine vision and the visual cortex. Right now, machines are quite primitive, quite narrow. And they can run DeepDream, and that's all. But we're running lots of different algorithms. I mean, we are a machine. We're running algorithms all the time, and our algorithms can run awry. There's paradiola, where we can see things that aren't there. We see a face on the moon, for example. Look at a cloud formation, and you can see things in it, but there are no birds in those clouds.
Then my wife came along and told that let's print some of the things you did. Those prints is here, and also there were a couple of people who were willing to buy prints from me. So at that point I decided, okay, now I can probably call myself artist as well.
We know that artificial neural networks work, but we're not quite sure how they work. That's a central problem in AI, because after all, artificial neural networks power driverless cars, as well as play a role in the Internet of Things.
And if artificial intelligence takes charge of critical systems and then goes wrong, it'll be crucial for us to understand what's going on in the layers of its brain between the inputs and the outputs, between the stimulus and the corresponding actions.
We hope that this work can shed some light on internal operation of the neural networks. It's probably when we design control systems, we should make sure that they function in a situation where even inputs can't be trusted and outputs malfunction. I don't think that we are at the stage of full understanding. Maybe there will be this idea of computer psychiatry.
Well, I guess we could all do with a bit of dreaming right now, although I'm not quite sure that's what I had in mind.
Yeah, that is a way too much cheese dream, that, isn't it? Anyway, that is it from us for this week.
As ever, you can keep up with the team on social media. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at BBC Click.
Thanks for watching. Don't have nightmares, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.